welcome. My name is Ellie Kerr, and you are listening to the Crispy Ear podcast, and in association with Merseyside Women of the Year. And with me this week is Rita Waters, Chief Executive of NYAS. Rita, thank you so much for coming along and being part of this journey on this podcast that we're doing. So this is season 2 now, and I wanted to speak to you and let everybody know what you're doing at NYAS, but also in 2019 you were our business leader winner.
I was.
So just tell us a little bit about that journey, because, you know, being part of WATI, and I know it went a bit different, but because of COVID.
It did. So firstly, thank you for having me, Ellie.
Pleasure.
I'm absolutely delighted to be here. So I'd followed the WATI journey, obviously through yourself, for quite a while, and to be nominated for Business Leader of the Year was just unbelievable. Honestly, it just blew me away. What also blew me away was not really knowing what to expect when we got to the venue. It was incredible.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's absolutely crazy, but crazy in such a good way. I mean, there was a room full, I don't know, was there about 400 people there?
Yeah.
All passionate, powerful women, which is just fantastic. I mean, the movement of Women of the Year is just, what you've created is nothing short of spectacular.
Oh,
so
thank you.
I did win in 2019, and I was absolutely thrilled to bits to win, and I've proudly display my trophy, or my glass trophy. And as you say, it did go a bit pear-shaped because we went into lockdown shortly afterwards.
We did.
So all of the events and get-togethers and conferences and meetings and networking that we would have done, all of the winners on that year, unfortunately we weren't really able to do.
No.
But we've carried on with that journey, and I'm still in touch with you, and I'm still involved with you in different ways, and the networking that extends from that, it's like an octopus, isn't it? It just keeps going and keeps going, and you meet up with people, and it's just that connection. It's like the little black book of women winners of the Women of the Year. So it's just been incredible. Thank you.
Oh, no, pleasure. Because that's the whole thing about it, is that, who knew it was all going to go to hell in a handcart?
Yes.
You could not have written 20 and 21, could you?
No.
Really? 2022 was, it was different, because obviously we come back and I was running it on my own. But one of the things that you've touched on is that network, because for me, that is really key, because I am really nosy. So I really love to know that what all the women that are, not everybody, because obviously I can't keep an eye on everybody, but there's certain things that come across that I've been able to plug you in over the years.
Yes, you have.
So just tell us a bit about NYAS for people who don't know what NYAS is and what you do and who you serve.
Okay. So NYAS stands for the National Youth Advocacy Service, and it's an organisation that started over 40 years ago. And it started with a young woman called Judith Timms, who is our founder and is still very, very involved to this day, over 40 years later, and she's wonderful. She was an independent social worker in Liverpool, and she was contacted by a friend of hers who was a family solicitor. And she was asked, would she go and advocate for a family of siblings and find out what the children wanted? Because in those days, and probably in our days when we were growing up, Ellie, it was children should be seen but not heard.
Definitely.
So children's voices weren't heard if parents were separating. They were just told the outcome of it. You're moving to your mum's, you're moving to your dad's, you're going to see your dad on a Wednesday, or, we're moving from this place to that place. And they weren't really consulted. And this was a group of siblings that the solicitor wanted to know what their voices wanted to, what they wanted. So Judith Timms advocated for them as an independent social worker, and the outcome of the court case changed very differently. And from there was a realisation that children's voices do matter, and that they are old enough in many instances to have their own viewpoint. So a groundswell started really over 40 years ago of independent social workers with family solicitors coming together and realising that actually we want to hear the child's voice. Following on from that, in 1989 came the Children Act, which stipulated that children's voices must be heard. And also came what we call the UNCRC, which is the United Nations Convention for the Rights of the Child. And we operate under Article 12 of the UNCRC, which basically states that a child's voice must be heard when decisions are being taken about the rest of their lives. key decisions. So NYAS was born out of that, really, and we were part of evidence collection and lobbying and discussing things with the government, and out of that came advocacy. So NYAS is unique in the way that we run what's called a tandem model. So we have the independent representation for the child in the court, which is what we were talking about before, and that's under what's called Rule 16.4. And then the other side of NYAS is the advocacy side, which has grown exponentially. I mean, from 40 years ago, starting with one person, we now have a workforce of over 1,200 people. We have offices around the country. So we have offices in London, in Birmingham, Cardiff, and Birkenhead is our head office. So we've been headquartered on the Wirral for all those years.
Wow.
We had more offices, but in COVID they closed, and it made us realise actually you can work from home very well and you can work out in the field. So COVID it changed everything for everybody, didn't it? And out of it came some great things, and unfortunately out of it came some very, very sad and tragic stories. And so our advocacy side, we will deliver all ranges of advocacy. And that's from what we call residential advocacy, where we will visit a children's home on a set day of the week, and we will be there as their advocate if they want something. We always say, if you want something stopped, started or changed, then you need an advocate. Right. And we will be that voice for you. So we protect the rights of children when they are taken into care, when they're on the fringes of care, or whether they are a care leaver. So we predominantly work in the care sector. Mm-hmm. Now, if you haven't been touched by the care system, you often don't realise how many young people are in care in today's society. There's over 100,000 children, as we're sitting here today, that are in the care system. By the time we've finished, there will be hundreds more will have entered the care system, and there will be hundreds more that will have left the care system.
Is that more prevalent now, would you say, rather than 40 years ago? Is it
without a doubt
changing?
Yeah, without a doubt.
10 years, is it?
Yes, yeah, we are seeing an increase. We always say we're a charity that really shouldn't need to exist because there shouldn't be children in care, because being taken into care means that the system and society has failed you at that point. You know, we should be keeping families together where it's appropriate to do so. Not every child that goes into care has a bad experience. In some instances, it's the best route for them. But then there are some that it really isn't the best route for them. So one of my favourite poets and authors is a guy called Lem Cizé.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, he himself is a care leaver, and he said, our care system in this country should be so fantastic that parents are knocking on the doors of the local authorities and begging them for their children to experience the care system. Now, it's not. It's never been that good. It probably will never be that good. But as a society, I think we all have a responsibility to challenge why it isn't that good. There is so much money put into social care. Why aren't the children having that experience, that fantastic experience? You know, the statistics of care leavers, only 10% of them will go into higher education, compared with 60% of non-care experienced young people. 50% of care leavers will at some stage in their life have a mental health issue. They're 4 times more likely to take their own lives if they've been in the care system than they are if they're non-care experienced.
And is that because of the experience they have, or because there's a stigma attached to it, or both?
It's possibly both. I mean, you know, we can't really say why people will take their own lives, but for a lot of people, for a lot of young people that go into the care system, and particularly the higher education route, they have what we call placement disruption. So if you think about your child, they have a stable home, they will have a supporting family that's around them, and you may move home, you know, you may go to a different area for work purposes, or you may decide to just change your house, downsize, upsize, what have you. When you're taken into care, you will move placements roughly dozens of placement moves in the lifetime of you being in care. So one of the reasons why the figures are so low on higher education entrance, for instance, from the care sector, from the care system, is that young people will have multiple placement moves whilst they're in care. So there's a lack of stability. And that means that when they move placements, they will leave behind their friends, their football clubs, their brownies, their guides, their swimming clubs, and then they have to start all over again.
Well, and it's like a root system, isn't it, for a tree?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, like, they're just uprooted and just everything that they know and sort of like they've made part of their little world gets uprooted.
Yeah. So that statement about it takes a whole village to raise a child, when you're moving from village to village all the time and you're having to get to know more people and new people, you have a new social worker, and it's very difficult for them. So we advocate for that. We do quite a lot of mental health advocacy as well, where children in the care system are struggling with some of their mental health. I know generally there's a mental health crisis at the moment, but we see it far more in the care system. We also do return interviews when a young person has run away from the care system, and when they come back we will offer them an independent shoulder to talk to and look at why they've run away. And in some cases we find that it's after a placement move. They're not running away, they're running back because they want to go back to where they came from, because that's where their safety net is. We do lots of other things. We provide independent visitors, which is basically a volunteer, a friend who will befriend a young person in the care system, and that's been one of our most successful programmes, because the young people themselves will tell us that is often the most important person in their life, because it's the only person in their life that is not paid to spend time with them. They're spending time with them because they want to. And they do normal things with them. They'll take them to a football match, take them bowling, ice skating, what have you, and just put some normal stuff into their lives.
But sometimes it's that one person that believes in you.
Absolutely.
And listens to you, or doesn't tell you that, you know, maybe any thoughts that you've got are silly or stupid, or you know, or encourage you to, you know, grow, and you know, so that's a really really key part.
It is. It's very important. And we have about 500 volunteers at NYAS who will work with our young people, and they commit to meeting them at least once a month and spending some time with them, and it's a fantastic programme. We do a lot of campaigning, we do a lot of lobbying, and we've got some great campaigns going on at the moment.
Well, I know I heard you on the radio. Well, I didn't hear you on the radio. I heard you mentioned on Jeremy Vine, didn't I?
You did indeed, yes.
And I'm getting in touch going, I've just heard NYAS mentioned. And tell us about that.
So that's a campaign. That's a really important campaign to NYAS, and we've been running this for a few years. We thought we would run it for a year, and we decided we will keep running it until every local authority in this country signs up to that campaign, however long it takes us.
Have they not?
No. So
right, come on. Whichever local authority it is, and looking straight at the camera now. Come on, why aren't you? Sign
the My Things Matter pledge. So we always work with young people, and we have a campaigns advisory group, and they tell us if we are looking at a campaign, whether that campaign would have made a difference to their lives if they're a care leaver, or would make a difference to their lives if they're still in care. And if they say it won't, then we're not going to waste our resources. We want to actually do things that make a real difference to the lives of these children. And one of the things that we kept hearing about was when they have these many placement moves, they are given black bin bags by the social workers to pack their most precious belongings in, as well as their duvets and their coats and everything else.
Which can go in a plastic bag.
But their most precious belongings go into a black bin bag. They're often lost. They're often misplaced, they're often stolen, and 9 times out of 10 they're broken or damaged. Now, these are often items that are completely priceless and irreplaceable. They're a photograph of their granddad. It's a letter from their sister. You know, it's a photograph of somebody else. It's a pebble that they walked on the beach the last time they saw their birth parents and collected a pebble. Things like that you cannot replace. And so we said, this is not good enough. So we started a campaign called My Things Matter, and we have a pledge, and we're asking all local authorities to sign up. It's 5 key things, you know, that they will never put their most precious belongings in a black bin bag. They will treat their belongings with respect. They will discuss the placement move with them, and they will give them a right to reply and a right to complain. You know, basic stuff that if you were moving your children's or your own most prized possessions from one home to another, you would wrap them, you would look after them.
You would expect that.
Yes.
As a minimum.
As a minimum.
As it, it wouldn't. You would think it wouldn't even be a non-negotiable, that you'd chuck everything that anybody owned in a black bag.
Yes, yeah. And also we heard that sometimes the young person's belongings are packed whilst they're not even there.
Oh.
They're at school or at college or at work, and they have to move from one foster placement or one care home to another. So the social worker goes in and packs them themselves. That's just not acceptable. Yeah. So we partnered. We thought, well, what can we do? Realistically, we can't buy hold-alls for everybody. There's 100,000 people in care. 10,000 young people will leave care every year. We couldn't possibly do that. And every 30 minutes or so, somebody's moving in from one placement to another. So we partnered. We found this incredible organisation in Northern Ireland called Madlug, which stands for Make a Difference Luggage. And they have a very ethical programme of supply manufacture of tote bags, hold-alls, laptop bags, rucksacks. And for everyone that is sold on their website, they will donate to NYAS a free bag.
Wow,
and we give that bag to young people in care. Now, so far, they've donated over 100,000 bags.
Oh, my goodness.
It's amazing.
That's fabulous,
absolutely amazing. We've won 2 awards for the project itself with Madlug. They are an incredible organisation. And the more corporates that buy from them, so there was a couple of years ago, IKEA, for instance, bought thousands of bags from them for their staff at Christmas. That meant IKEA contributed thousands of bags into the care system. So so we do things like that. We'll campaign. We have another campaign at the moment called Side by Side, and that is when a care leaver leaves care for the first 12 months, they are always at their most vulnerable. They're 18. They've come from a lifetime of routine and support, and suddenly they find themselves on their own. Yeah. And it's a really daunting and dreadful situation to be in.
And also at 18, you're too big to be little and too little to be big, aren't you?
Yes. So you're not quite mature enough.
It's that very, very vulnerable time.
It is. So we do what it says on the tin. We stand side by side with a care leaver in the first 12 months when they leave care. We support them through advocacy. We give them access to our legal team. We have a fantastic team of family lawyers, and often they need legal advice to see how they can get contact with their younger siblings who are still in the care system, because 50% of siblings are separated when they go into care. So we will work with them to make sure that they can get access to them. We have a bursary and we fundraise for that bursary. So if anybody wants to help us fundraise, that would be great.
Okay.
If they want to run a marathon for us, bake a cake or climb a mountain. And we give
it's a charity.
We are a charity, yes. And we do rely on fundraising as well. And we have some fantastic supporters that fundraise for us. And we will give the care leavers up to £500 bursary. And it's not to pay rent or anything like that or pay bills. But often it can be we buy them a bike if they're going to college. Yeah. We buy them a laptop if they're at university. We'll buy driving lessons if they've got a job. So we just help them to have that start in life that as parents we would help them at 18, but nobody else does. Yeah. So it's a fantastic programme. And that's My Things Matter and Side by Side. All of these details are on our website, www.nyas.net, and people can go in, they can donate on the website, or they can find out more about us.
It's not always the end, is it, or being a care leaver? Because I know we spoke about before about some of really famous people that have gone on to.
Absolutely.
You've mentioned Lemon Cisse. You've mentioned other people when we were talking before. I mean, off the top of my head, Floella Benjamin,
Debbie Harry,
there we go,
Seal, Michael Gove in politicians. Oh, there's so many. I wish I could remember. In fact, let me just have a quick look, because I have a list of them here.
I think sometimes those kind of people, when you go and listen, I've never walked in those shoes. I've never been in care. I've been very fortunate, but I think sometimes when you hear about other people that have, I won't say made it, because obviously they've all got their own issues and stuff, but when people are in the public eye and you see them and you think, oh, actually, they've done well.
Anything's possible.
If they can do it, I
absolutely.
can do it. Yeah.
And that's what I said before, it's important to draw the distinction that going into care is not the end of things for you. Sometimes it's the beginning for these young people, because it's the best place for them. Fatima Whitbread, the sportswoman, Nikki Campbell, TV presenter, Bruce Oldfield, designer, Rebecca Ferguson, singer from our hometown, Neil Morrissey, Goldie. There's so many, Kathy Burke. I could go on and on and on, but that just gives you an idea. You know, it's about the choices that you make, whether you're in care or non-care experienced, and the opportunities that you take. And I think charities like NYAS and other charities that work with these young people are able to make sure that they do have the best chances in life. Why should they not have the same chances as a child that hasn't been in care?
Definitely.
You know, so one of the other things that we do at NYAS is that we visit children's homes and we make sure that the rights are being upheld in the children's home. So we will work directly with the child, make sure that they've got everything that they need, make sure that their voices are being heard. And we visit about, I would say, probably about 700 children's homes a month.
Gosh.
And that's a month, every month. And that's only a small part of the complete marketplace. We work with about 100 local authorities right across the country. We have a large NYAS presence in Wales, and we have a Welsh Chief Exec who's fantastic and works very, very closely with the Welsh Government. And we noticed that, I said earlier about we shouldn't exist because the society should be fixing the problems before the children are taken into care. And we recognised that we needed to do something about that. So our Welsh Chief Exec worked very closely with the Welsh Government and developed a new project called Project Unity. And that's about working with the mums who are either pregnant young mums, care leavers, care experienced pregnant young mums, or have had their baby and are at risk of having that child removed. So we work with the local authorities, we do a multi-agency approach, and we work with that young person, young mum. We've worked with over 500 young mums to help them to keep their child with them. And we've had some fantastic successes. Not everyone, and not everybody, and that's the right decision for for a lot of young people. But for the ones where the right decision is for them to have some support for that family so that they stop that cycle of care, that mum's gone into care, generational care system, it works really well, and we've had some amazing results from that. So we are starting now to try and roll that out across England, and again we're writing bids for funding and we're fundraising for it, because if we can help one child stay with their family and have a positive output, it's worth it, you know. But to work with 500 young females across Wales, it's been incredible.
One of the things, obviously, you know, I work a lot with women because whatever's happened in my career path, that's where I've ended, and I absolutely love it. And so just picking up on that women's thread, I always say that women need 4 things, and it isn't exclusive to women, but obviously I work a lot with women, which is a network, information, money, and self-belief.
Yes.
Because a network is your net worth. Information is you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
So you know, if you can find somebody and like the information that you give. Money, whether it be personal money, because for me money is freedom and choice.
Yes.
And then obviously self-belief. And it seems to me that the support and care that you give, it is sort of like the backbone of those 4 things. What would resonate with you as Rita?
Well, gosh, I've needed all 4 of those in my career as well, you know. Networking, I can't do what I do on my own. I have a workforce, as I said before, of over 1,200, but it's not just the workforce, it's the networks, it's those octopus tentacles that stretch out, both personally and professionally. I like to think that there are plenty of people that I've worked with in the past that I would still call. You would be one of them, and at least you've answered my phone calls, so I must be doing something right, or must have done something right. Everybody needs to have that network, however small or however large that is. You know, there's always a small group of people, I think, that are your go-to people that you know. I always think, who could I phone that would pick my call up and not be either left a voicemail or a secretary would intercept and say, oh, sorry, we'll get them to come back to you. They will answer your email, they will answer your phone call. So networking is really, really important, because there are people out there that can fit all the jigsaw pieces together. You might have 1 or 2 of those pieces and they fit some more. I think information, you have to have information, you know, as you say, if you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know what you need to know, then you've got to be able to go and find that. And it enables you to make more informed decisions. And that's really important, particularly in the work that we do in the courts. We have to, and that's why we meet with all of the young people, because we have to have that information. Money, absolutely, it gives you choice. And that's one of the reasons why we do the bursaries for them. It puts them a little bit ahead, so that they can stand side by side with somebody else that's not been in the care system, that is in university working on a laptop. They're also working on a laptop provided by NYAS.
And they've got a little bit of a foundation, because I think if you've got a little bit of money in your pocket and a little bit of wiggle room to know that if something happens and you can get away, that's, for me, that's the key.
But one of the other things that we do with our independent volunteers that befriend them, we don't expect them to be out of pocket. So we also give them a small budget. So when they see their young person once a month, we don't expect them to pay for the bowling or pay for the ice skating. We give them a small amount of money. It's not a lot, they might get £30, or if they wanted something really special, we'd look at that. We funded people to go and see a football match at Liverpool, for instance. And then self-belief, all of those people that we've just talked about before, and myself and yourself, we've got self-belief. We will get things wrong, and I've stayed awake at night time thinking, God, did I really say that yesterday on stage, or did I really write that, or oh my God, what am I going to do?
All the time.
Yeah, but if you genuinely believe, and I think everybody that works at NYAS genuinely believes, first of all, in the power of the voice of the child, and the fact that voice has to be heard. It has to be heard. We're living in a society where people have freedom of choice, freedom of speech, and we have to listen to that. But also, I think all the people involved in NYAS have the belief that those young people are incredible. They are incredible young people. They are not to be put to one side and put behind closed doors. They are incredible, and they will go on to do incredible things.
What would you give yourself if you had to go back? So this is Rita now.
Oh gosh.
What would you give yourself a crispy about? So that means you would go and say, give yourself, until your ear goes
good
all
talking
crispy,
to.
Good talking to, and say, right.
I've led many organisations, and I've been a chief exec for over 20 years. I've been in senior management positions, and I think when I first became a senior manager, or a leader, if you like, I think I would probably say to myself, I should have led differently. Sorry, that was my glasses on the floor. I should have led differently. I think I should have led from the heart, and not from structure. Leadership for me is, possibly I might have thought when I was much younger, leadership was about clock watching and, who was first in, who was last out. And it's not. It's about the people.
Yeah.
It's about how you make those people feel, because if you make them feel great, then they will be more productive, because they'll be happier. So I think for me, I'd probably have said, lighten up a little bit. We're still getting things done. And I think COVID has probably done that for a lot of people. Yeah. We're still getting things done. We might not be having to drive to the office 9 to 5 every day, but we're still getting things done.
It's just done in a different way now.
So I think it's about the people, not the process, and it's about heart, not head. I think that's probably what I'd say.
It's interesting to see that you would take that in the crispy ear into leadership, because leadership is the thing that makes a business successful, and some businesses, or I would say, most businesses, don't really look at that leadership model, because a fish rots from the head down.
Yes.
And sort of, if you haven't got those top leadership roles and people in place, well, then your people are your oil that makes everything work properly.
They are. And people work for people, not titles.
Yeah.
They don't follow a title, they follow a person. So,
Rita, it sounds to me as if, without you and what NYAS stand for and advocate and help young people do, the world would be a much sadder place. We'd have an awful lot more mental health issues, and truly can't thank you enough. I mean,
thank you.
These half an hours just fly.
It has.
It just goes. But when we actually get into the nitty gritty of what you do and what the team does, I'm sure it has saved and changed thousands of people's lives, and I can't thank you enough.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me
today. I've loved it.
Thank you. I have too.
This has been Ellie Kerr, the Crispy Ear podcast, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.